In this lesson, you will learn the characteristics and the properties of solid geometric figures. In order for a figure to be a solid shape, it has to be three-dimensional. 3D, it has to pop up, as opposed to the plane figures, they were flat and two-dimensional. Solid figures have to be three-dimensional. You can measure their length, width, and height. They also enclose a region of space. They are also a closed shape similar to the plane geometric figures. They enclose a region of space. They can have flat surfaces, curved surfaces, or both. The properties you're going to want to know to describe these solid figures: the name of the figure, the number and the shape of the faces, the number of edges, number of vertices, and the number of angles. Alright, let's go ahead and name these figures before we start looking at their properties. The first figure is a cube. Some examples of a cube are a dice or an ice cube. This is a really hard one to find because you want to make sure all sides, edges, and faces are exactly equal. So I searched around my house and I found a tissue box that was as closest to a cube that I could find. Again, a dice, that's closer because it has all sides that are perfectly equal. And you can find lots of other examples as well. The next one, a rectangular prism. A book is a rectangular prism. A cereal box is a rectangular prism. And this is similar to the cube except it's stretched out. And I found a box of light bulbs was a perfect rectangular prism. You can see that it has rectangles all around to make that 3D shape. The next one is a square pyramid. A square pyramid is different than a triangular pyramid. The base of the pyramid is in the shape of a square. So you want to make sure that with a square pyramid, you have the base is the shape of a square, and the other sides are, or the other faces are triangles. Example, pyramids of Egypt. You're very familiar with those from second grade. Those are in the shape of a pyramid. This one was the hardest for me to find in my house, but I finally found it. I persevered, I kept looking, and I found this lantern. Now the lantern is not, the whole thing's not a pyramid, but if you look at this top part, the edges, they're in the shape of a triangle. And then you can see, if you flip it this way, you can see it's in the shape of a square. So the base of that is a square. So if we were to slice that off, take off this little teeny top part, that would be a square pyramid. A sphere, and I've kind of colored in the inside so it'll make it look 3D. A sphere would be the shape, a ball would be the shape of a sphere. A globe would be in the shape of a sphere. And I found a ball in my house. I don't have kids, but I found this ball for when my niece and nephew come over, they play with. A cone is the next one. For example, the tip of a pencil or a party hat is in the shape of a cone. And I found the tip of my eyeliner pencil. I like it to be really sharp so I can put on my eyeliner, and that's in the perfect shape of a cone. And the last one, a cylinder. Toilet paper roll is in the shape of a cylinder. A soup can, or I found a can of peanuts, is in the shape of a cylinder. And these can be all different shapes and sizes. All of these, they don't have to be one exact size. Now, the first property we're going to look at are the faces. The faces of each of these solid figures. Now, if you notice, I've drawn the shape of a cube and I've shaded in one face. The face is what it lays flat on. It's a flat surface. So if we were to look at the definition, a face is a flat shape that serves as one side of a solid figure. So if we take our cube and we unfold it, we're going to have the shape of squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 squares or 6 faces on a cube if you're to unwrap it. And for the next one, if you look at these have 1, 2, 3, 4 rectangles. And these two sometimes go with they can sometimes go on the edge, on the ends, and they can sometimes be rectangles or possibly squares. In my case, my 4, these are all rectangles, and then the 2 ends happen to also be rectangles. And so these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces create a rectangle. Our next shape, to create a pyramid, the faces are going to have 4 triangles and 1 square. So if I were to take this off, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles, and then that base is a square. So a pyramid has 5 faces. A sphere, we know that it's got to be a flat shape. A sphere, if I just laid here, it would roll. So that has 0 faces. A cone, if I were to look at a cone, and if you lay a cone flat, it has 1 circular face, and then we call the part that goes around the cone, the part that goes around that, it's a curved face. So you can call it a face, but it's not truly a flat shape, so we just say it's a curved face. And we don't count that when we're counting how many faces, how many flat faces there are. Then the last one, a cylinder. We have our cylinder. If you are to lay flat, it has 2 flat surfaces and 1 rolls. So we call the one that rolls curved. If we were to unwrap it, it would have 1 curved face and then 2 circles, 2 circle faces for the top and for the bottom. The second property, the edges. In order to find the edges, you just look at where 2 sides or 2 faces meet. So it's right along the edge of something. This is an edge on my pyramid. This would be an edge. So the definition says it's a line segment where 2 faces intersect, where 2 faces meet. Our cube, if you look at what you've drawn, in order to draw a 3D shape, you're pretty much drawing the edges. So each line that I drew counts as 1 edge. So I would have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on the back side, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I already counted to a couple of those, so there's 4 on top. But I already counted the 1 on top. So if you're really to dig in and count the edges as you're drawing, or if you hold your place and try to count, you could say 1, 2, 3, 4 on top, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the bottom, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 edges on a cube. And then a rectangular prism is a cube just stretched out. So there are also 12 edges, or 12 lines that we drew. On a pyramid, there are 8. If we are to look at the pyramid, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, which are these 4 lines that meet. And then the base, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 edges on a pyramid. A sphere, there were 0 faces, and it says when 2 faces intersect, so there are 0 edges on a sphere. A cone also has 0 because there are, even though this is a face, it has to have 2 faces that intersect and make a line segment. And we know this is a curve, so that doesn't count as an edge. Cylinder, same thing. It's a curve, and it doesn't count as that line segment, that straight edge, that line segment. The third property of solid figures are the vertices. Remember, the word vertices is the plural form, and the singular form would be vertex. So one vertex and multiple vertices, which are basically the corners. So if you're to look at your cube again, it's the part where it's a little point. If you remember on your plane figures, it's that little point as well, but now it's a 3D figure or a solid figure. So if you're to count the points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a cube has 8 vertices, and I like to mark it with a big dot so I can count them easily. A rectangular prism also has 8. A pyramid, now a pyramid has 5. It has 4 on the bottom, and then all the triangles meet at the top to make the 5th vertex. A cone has just that one vertex on the bottom that makes it sharp, a little sharp point. And then a cylinder has 0 vertices. So what is a vertice? Or excuse me, what is a vertex? It's a corner where 3 or more faces intersect. Now, the only difference with this, the only reason this is a vertex is because it has that point at the end, even though that's a curved face. So it's a little tricky to remember. And the sphere has 0. The last property we're going to look at are the angles. Remember, an angle is formed when 2 edges intersect at the vertex or at the corner. So if we look at each of these shapes, this is when it gets really tricky. You want to really unwrap it and look at each face, pretty much. So you take it face by face. So if we look at one face, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 angles, which I've pointed out here. 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. And we remember that our cube has 6 faces, and so 6 faces times 4 on each face is 24. There are 24 angles on a cube. Same for a rectangular prism. 1, 2, 3, 4 on each of its faces. There are 6 faces. 6 times 4 is 24. 24 angles. Now for a pyramid, each of these faces are as a triangle. So you have 3 angles on each triangle. On each of those, we know we have 4 triangle faces. 3 times 4. So we have 12 up top, 12 angles, plus that square has 4 angles. 12 angles plus 4 angles, we have 16 angles on a pyramid. And then the sphere, the cone, and the cylinder have 0 angles because they don't have the 2 edges intersecting at a corner. And remember, the one angle I want you to remember and to look for with each of your shapes is a right angle. It has a square corner. And we took our post-it before in the last lesson, and we placed it there to make sure it was a square corner or a right angle. So to prove that, yes, those are, no matter which way it's turned. So we know that a cube and a rectangular prism have all square angles or all right angles. A pyramid has 4 right angles, the ones on the square, and then these again have 0.